there's a lot of things that have been decided in the Ninth Circuit, have there not? Don't forget, we had the situation most recently out in California where Gavin Newsom tried to say, no, Donald Trump, you cannot under any circumstances take over or federalize the actual National Guard. And he said, you know what, I can. And the law is on my side. And guess what? The Ninth Circuit coming out just moments ago. This news just crossing and officially, ladies and gentlemen, deciding and siding with the Trump administration and the legal team on that one. So just out, the appeals court, you should know, in the Ninth Circuit, liberal Ninth Circuit in California, making the decision that indeed the president of the United States can federalize the National Guard in a situation like California where they are not actually trying to follow through with the law. They're not actually putting forward the law. So I told you this was going to happen. Did I not? We were talking about this all week. I said, watch, watch, watch. Here it is. The power to call up the National Guard. Title 10, U.S. Code 12406. The federal statute allows for the president of the United States to call into federal service members and units of the National Guard in such numbers as he considers necessary to execute the laws of the United States. Okay, you got laws. In the United States of America, one of the laws happens to be, whether you like it or not, that the federal government does have jurisdiction over who is in this country. Now, here I am in Live Free or Die, New Hampshire, okay? Live Free or Die country. I'm a big believer in states' rights, and states have a lot of autonomy, and that's built into the Constitution. But there are certain things where the federal government does actually have a lot of power. And the one thing, perhaps the only thing they really, really have the federal power in is on the borders and naturalization and who's in this country. So this is one that they're actually going to lose all day long, in that Congress makes the decision about who's here in the country, who can be in the country. And then the federal government's job, again, is to carry through on the law. And so if you have a state that is deliberately resisting this, well, where does that leave you? I mean, if you're going to be the United States of America, right? Where's Alexander Hamilton when we need him? We need some federalism here in the works. And this is what we're now seeing. So the Ninth Circuit, which is historically very liberal, coming through and saying just moments ago here, making the decision that at least temporarily, guess who has the power to call up the National Guard in the state of California? It is one Donald Trump, and one would have to assume that that extends to New York. So Letitia James, good luck on that one. I realize, the states don't like it. And to be fair, the states are trying to say, look, it's supposed to go through the state. Yes, it's supposed to go through the state, but it can't always go through the state if the state is actually there in opposition to the system, in opposition to the actual law. And thus, that is where we find ourselves right now, where you have states like the state of New York, like the state of California, that have a different view on this. And until they actually change the law, it is what it is. Barack Obama notoriously said this. We played this sound the other day, right? He actually came out and said, look, this is the law and I have to enforce the law. And he was deporting 1,000 people a day because he was enforcing the law. And if a state is choosing not to enforce the law, you can go all the way back to 1962, George Wallace, Alabama, all right? You're not going to integrate your schools. Guess what? We're going to put the federal government in there to make sure that the job gets done. And in that case, they did federalize the National Guard. So there is precedent for this. It has happened before. And in this time that we're now living, it's happening again. So again, just breaking today, I want to announce that we expected this to come. We've been talking about this all week. We had seen sort of inklings along the way. If you listen to the hearings that were going on Tuesday, we talked about this, how clearly the court was leaning towards allowing for the federalization of the National Guard. And as much as Gavin Newsom would like to believe he can kick out Trump and not have this go down, at least as it stands now, that's what's happening. And so New York is understandably freaking out as well. Letitia James not too happy about this one, because Letitia is now going to be looking at the feds moving in on New York as well. He's already made that clear. New York is on the list. Chicago is on the list, and LA, of course, already we know is on the list. And we've seen this as recently as this week. You had Brad Lander, the comptroller there for New York City, trying to get in the way of federal law enforcement, trying to do their job. And guess what? They put him in cuffs,
You don't have to. I'm not obstructing. I'm standing right here in the hallway. I asked to see the judicial warrant.
You're arresting the
by asking for a judicial warrant. You don't have the authority to arrest U.S. citizens asking for a judicial warrant.
Here we go too. Sorry. Away. I'm safe. Where are you taking him? Hello?
Hi, I'm the Comptroller's Press Secretary. Where are you taking the Comptroller of the City of New York?
And with what authority?
You're saying where are you taking him? And they're just getting him out of the way, right? And it looks like, you know, this may wind up in the courts as well, but ultimately,
Number one right here, right? Thank you.
ultimately what you're going to see is the same thing here, and that is that New York, if it's not going to enforce the federal law, is going to have to cede that authority to the federal government, same as we saw there with the Ninth Circuit making the decision in California. Elise Stefanik, meanwhile, very upset because taxpayer dollars are now being put forward to handle the legal fees of migrants. This has been a big issue this week because Kathy Hochul is very, very upset. She's the governor of New York that basically, you're living in an environment where the state does not have the same kind of power from a sanctuary perspective. Here she is with what I believe is going to be a career-ending move, talking about the issue this week.
Do you want to know what I really think? Please. It's bull. How dare they take an elected official who's been going down there for weeks to escort people who are afraid to walk into a courthouse in the United States of America. So Brad Lander has stepped up to be a guiding help for them. And this is what happens to them. What the hell is happening to this country? I just left Little Haiti. People are being traumatized. Small businesses, people walking down the street. When I was there in August, the streets were mobbed. People were walking down the sidewalks. There were vendors everywhere. The traffic was crowded. Today, there was silence. People are living in fear. One woman just told me the ICE agents are going in and out of buildings there.
So part of this is related to the Supreme Court allowing for the Trump administration to strike down the law or the allowance of 532,000 people from the likes of Haiti, Nicaragua, Cuba, and Venezuela to come to this country. So Biden had allowed for all these people, 532,000, to come in. Some of them may have been in New York or other sanctuary cities. And all of a sudden now, they no longer have that legal status to be here. And so ICE is making the decision that one, if you are here illegally, and two, if you've committed a crime, that you are then subject to arrest. And this is where you're seeing this divide, right, between what the state wants and what the federal government wants. And that's when it's going to get back to all of these laws. Again, when you look at the federalization of the National Guard, one can expect that that is also going to happen in New York. And so Kathy Hochul and Letitia James, they're preparing for it, with Kathy saying she's putting $50 million towards the legal fees. Don't forget, the Democrats were allocating, what was it, $10 million just towards Letitia's legal fees because of her mortgage fraud situation, her own personal doing that she's in that mess. Anyway, they're throwing money around to try and address these legal challenges. And I'm just going to tell them right now, it is money down the drain. Go back to the Constitution. Look at what it says. You do not have the right to be completely divorced from what the federal government is insisting upon, New York, California, Illinois. But nonetheless, here's Kathy.
That are walking out of this courthouse, taken away from their families. They don't have the attention. They don't have the lawyers. And that's why the state of New York is providing $50 million to cover legal services for people who are finding themselves in this situation.
Okay, so she's putting taxpayer dollars towards that. You can see how this is going, right? What is going to, I mean, the campaign ads are playing out in my head already. Elise Stefanik already did one with her tweet. Oh my gosh, you know, she's putting the needs of illegal migrants ahead of people that are here in this country. Another story that just broke today, we saw that Pam Bondi is going after the Kentucky governor because the Kentucky governor is in her estimation, putting illegals first because they're allowing for scholarships for university for people who are here illegally. And they're putting those kids effectively above people who were born here. And so this is kind of coming to a head. It's sort of bizarre that it's happened, but I guess we were getting there. We were getting there because why? Because they made a decision to bring in some 20 million people illegally and then offer them benefits and offer them possible voting rights. Look at what was going on in New York, 800,000 non-citizens that they wanted to be able to vote in the state of New York. And you can just see the train, right? Like leaving the station. Where was this heading? They thought to themselves, oh, bring all these people in, let them eat cake. Let them eat cake, right? It's the Marie Antoinette thing. You just give them a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. The Democrats say, we're going to control all the money. We're going to control all the handouts. AOC is going to make it fair, for everyone. She's certainly going to make it fair for herself. Don't forget, she's the one that was on the private jet along with Bernie Sanders so they could go do that whole socialism tour earlier this year. There's a method to the madness. There's only one sort of team of people that succeeds in that, and it's the utter elites, the people in control, the AOCs and the Sanders of the world. So now we're looking at all the states once again banding together with one Letitia James to try and fight California's federalization, or Trump's federalization of the National Guard in California. But I got news for them, just like I got news for Letitia on the Elon Musk thing. Guess what? You're not going to get to first base because the Ninth Circuit has already made the decision. So once again, you're wasting everybody's time. You're wasting everybody's money. It's like the only thing she knows how to do, right? Wow. We got some interesting news. Hopefully you can still see me here. See, I told you it was going to be a little rough going. Up in New Hampshire here, but I wasn't going to miss a show. No, not Trish. Not when we get this much going on. We are so proud to be independent. We're thrilled. We're climbing the charts. We're getting closer and closer to 1 million subs. I know it's going to happen. It's going to happen very soon. So thank you for all you do. And thank you to our sponsors who help make this show all possible. Balance of Nature. Go to balanceofnature.com. I take the fruits and veggies. Code word Trish. You can get them for 35% off. You can call them at 1-800-2468-751. It's 1-800-2468-751. Balanceofnature.com with code word Trish. Again, 35% off.